This is the video version of the Greenhouse Effect Lab. If you were absent when we did this in class, you can use this version to complete the lab in case the download does not work. So the first thing that you are going to have to check out on the actual simulation here is what these yellow dots and these red dots are. So give yourself a second to pause the simulation and write down the answers. The next thing you are going to do is just observe what is happening in the simulation. So this portion is going to let us toggle between having a whole bunch of panes of glass and not having a lot of panes of glass. So I'm going to go ahead and reset this. And in the data table that goes 0, 1, 2, 3, you're going to say what the temperature is. So for the temperature, it is fluctuating, so you're just going to pick roughly an average for each stage. So you're going to pick the temperature. You are going to describe what these sunlight photons are doing, and you're going to describe what these infrared photons are doing. So if I were you, I'd pause it for a second and jot down what you see the yellow photons doing and what you see the red photons doing with 0 glass panes. I'm now going to up the number of glass panes to 1. We're going to give it a couple of seconds to adjust. Now in the table where it says 1 glass pane, you're going to record the temperature, record what the yellow sunlight photons are doing, and record what the infrared photons are doing. I am now going to change the simulation to 2 glass panes. So again, we'll give it a minute to regulate itself. You are now going to record the temperature, record what the yellow sunlight photons are doing, and record what the red infrared photons are doing. I am now going to up the number of glass panes to 3. Give it a second to adjust. You are now going to record the temperature with 3 glass panes, what the yellow photons are doing, the sunlight photons, and what these infrared photons are doing down here. Once you have recorded your data for having 3 panes, there are a couple of questions that I want you to answer regarding kind of what behavior you saw down here with the infrared photons versus sunlight photons and how that relates to temperature. You may want to pause that video to be able to complete that. The next portion of the simulation is the greenhouse effect simulation. So right now, I have this set to today, and it tells us kind of the concentration of different greenhouse gases. This today that it talks about is actually probably about 20 years ago, because now the parts per million of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is well over 400. So the first thing we're going to do is observe what the temperature is, what we see happening with the sunlight photons, and what we see happening with the infrared photons. You are also going to compare this to the glass layer simulation that we just looked at. So does this look more like having a whole bunch of the glass layers, or when we had none of the glass layers? Once you've recorded your data for today, so again, temperature, what the yellow is doing, and what the red is doing, we're going to go ahead and adjust this so that we suck all of the greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere. So we're going to give it a minute to adjust. And we are going to record the temperature, what the yellow is doing, what the red is doing. And if this looks more like when we had the glass layers, and when we did not have the glass sliders. Next, we are going to look at what happens when we maximize the number of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. So we'll give it a second to adjust. You can see on my screen that it looks much like smoggier outside, and that's due to the increased air pollution. The temperature is leveling out. So now for the condition lots, you're going to record the temperature, record what the yellow is doing, and record what the red is doing. If there are any parts of this video that you need to go back to, I would start at the beginning, go to whichever spot, pause intermittently so that you can make sure you get the data you need, and make sure that you answer the questions at the very end of the lab. If you had any trouble with this, please contact me ASAP so that we can get it figured out.